Hello and welcome everyone to Freedom, Not Tyranny. I'm your host, David Torres. This is a show about you, about your rights, your freedom. A different show. A show about big government versus little government. A show about your Second Amendment rights. A show about your freedom, your rights to vote. A show that involves how to keep yourself independent. Your rights to do what you feel is necessary for you and your family. This is what this show is all about. I hope you enjoy it. Freedom, not tyranny. Welcome everybody to another episode of Freedom, Not Tyranny. And I want to tell you that we have a couple interesting topics going on. But you know that we are days away from an election, 24 days, something like that, away from an election and midterms. And it's important that we get out the vote. But more importantly is that you got to look at both candidates, and then you got to look at both parties. You know, we tell everybody, and I have the habit of doing that, to look at both candidates, right? And we know that there's a monopoly between the Republicans and Democrats when it comes to allowing anybody else to run. If you're an independent, if you're from the Green Party or the Working Party, which I think is totally unfair, that they monopolize this, but they have been for a long time, only because we allow them to do it. But moving on, we got to start looking at the parties. Because things in this country is really doing bad. You know, crime, the economy, drugs coming across the border, immigrants, issues with immigrants, you name it, abortions. There's some serious things going on and serious things happening in this country. Oil prices and one party and one leader canceling oil productions and permits on people, and now we have issues across the not only across the country, but that we play a role in when it comes to world activities. But the funny part about it is nobody pays attention to what the parties are doing, because there's two parties basically in charge, which to me, both parties are actually one party. Okay, because they both know what they're doing. They play the game. But it's time that we start looking at the parties and holding the parties responsible for what they say. And once they're in office, we need to have this party that's in office, irregardless of who the hell is running the country according to them, whether it be Republican or Democrat. We need to make sure that they're doing what they got to do for all of us. Because a person that wins an election, whether it's a president, Congress, Senate, or whatever, didn't win only to go to Washington or the Harrisburg to only represent one party. You won, and your responsibility is to every individual in this country. And the bullshit has got to stop. Okay, that's basically what I wanted to tell you in the beginning. And let her also, on a good note, Eagles 6-0, only ones in the division. Sorry, you guys, we sent Dallas home crying for all you Dallas fans on Sunday. And we're 6-0. You know, Daddy's got something to say. And the Phillies, who can say anything bad about the Phillies? You know, let's make sure we respect, we love what they are already, what they've given us already. And let's be good fans, but let them know that we are fans, okay? Either way around. So let's move on. We're going to start talking about crime. And I'm not going to go into crime in Chicago. We know Chicago is pathetic. We know New York has really gotten out of hand. But let's concentrate a little bit on crime in Philadelphia. Because, you know, here the crime has gotten disgusting. These are the four people that had the shooting that killed the young man in at a baseball game, coming out of a football game, coming home from a football game. The kid had nothing to do with anything, and they shot and killed him. Okay? So they caught 3 of them already. One turned himself in, and the last gentleman is at large. And there is a reward for him, and he's very dangerous. So be careful. But if you know who this man is, who has no respect for life, we're not going to call them children anymore. We're not going to call them minors. We're not going to do none of that. Okay? You pulled the trigger. You killed somebody intentionally, thinking you want to be Rambo or you whatever you want to be out there. Okay? And you're taking a life. You know, you're not giving a shit. So if you don't care, society should make sure you get put away. And cold-blooded killing like that, you need to have the death penalty. We need the death penalty back on the table. We need this to happen. Okay? And we can't let up on this. We can't. You can't keep allowing the ridiculous abuse between drug overdose. You're a drug dealer, you killed somebody, died, and you gave them bad drugs. And drugs are bad to begin with, but if you give them something laced with fentanyl, they kill over, die. You get whatever the reason. You know, for me, all the killing and people that are dying of drug overdoses, the dealers need to be held accountable. And you're not handing out lollipops. You're killing people. So if you're willingly dealing and killing people, then the death penalty should be on your ass. That's the way I feel. Okay? It's my feeling. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, I really don't care. But this is part of what's happening across the country and in Philadelphia. We're losing a lot of lives out there to crime. A lot. Police officers are being shot and ambushed. Home robberies are up. Burglaries up. Assaults are up in this country, in Philadelphia. And, look at what these 4 jokers did to that poor kid. He had nothing to do with anything. Finished the game, going home, comes out of the ballpark, and gets killed. But if you did that to one of them family members, they'd be having a whole different story. They'd be crying. Look at Kensington over the last couple of days. This is a weird incident on Kensington. An off-duty police officer, I believe, from the counties, I don't want to put his name out there like that or his family for purposes of making sure that they don't get abused in any way, comes into Kensington, and he's helping the homeless, feeding the homeless, giving stuff to the homeless, doing things for the homeless, and they hijack his car. How pathetic is it that they take and they hijack his car? Do you believe the audacity of people that they're out here helping you and they're going to hijack the car? They're going to take advantage of the person that's feeding them? Are you serious? How do you cut off the hand that's feeding you? That's literally what they did. Somebody who come down out of the goodness of their heart to help with a situation that we all know is gotten out of hand. And we all know that the government has kind of placated stuff. And they've created some of this monster because they know what's coming over the border. They know what's happening in the community. They're opening up safe drug shooting areas, smoking areas. Wintertime's coming. They're probably going to heat up a building for them. And they can go in there and they shoot drugs. So if you're putting up these places for safe shooting and everything, and you tell them, go ahead, get your drugs, come back, and you can use it here. And if you overdose, we're going to be here to give you Narcan, the core rescue is going to be here. We're going to get you to the hospital. Chances are better that you don't die of the drug overdose. You've really done a lot to help that individual because they're never feeling the pain of the drugs and they're not facing what's happening. You're destroying them mentally, physically, and emotionally. You're destroying them. You're as guilty as the person giving them the drugs. You're as guilty as the person that brought the drugs to the community, because you are helping them get high. I don't care how you word it, how you figure it. You're part of the drug dealers. Because don't tell me and the general public that you're going to stop drug dealing in the community and the crimes going on in the community, and you tell them, go out, get your drugs, come back here, get fresh needles, get a free band for your arm, get free crack pipes, supply for the week, and oh, by the way, come in here and use everything, and we got your back if something happens to you with bad fentanyl or an overdose. So yes, you are the problem. You're just as bad. You are part of the drug dealing people out here, because they're not feeling any pain. So you son of a bitches that are running these programs, and you that allow, and you in city council that's spending this money, you're just as bad as the drug dealer. David Torres said it. I have nothing to deny about it. Freedom, not tyranny. And I'm calling you out. You're part of the drug dealing family. That's where you're at. Everybody who's involved in it. And let's move on. This is another interesting little thing. Moving on to crime and issues in politics. Wow, this is a doozy. You know how they hang lawn signs and they put signs up at telephone poles and in front of some stores put it out, stuff like that. Well, you know, you have people with their opponents don't respect, or it may not be actually the opponent itself or the party, but people who become radicalized to a particular party, and then they go around, they put signs up where they're not supposed to, or they do things where they're not supposed to. And then they go out, and what's happening is they put them, say, at a telephone pole or somebody's lawn, or driving too close to somebody's personal drive area, or on their driveway, or near a highway, you know, and people knock them over, take them down, whatever the reason. So what's happening now is the biggest trend that's going on, and I'm going to ask Danny to read this out loud so everybody can hear it, what it says here. And then first I want to explain to you, if you look at the top end corner of the sign, it's rigged with razor blades, so that when you go grab the sign to take it down, if it's an illegal place or not, you can literally cut your finger off. It's rigged that way, the signs. And the problem is, the stupid people, if you put a lawn sign or a sign along a highway, say a kid grabbed it, kid could literally cut his hand off. And they're not thinking about that. Okay? This is where radical stupidity has come into politics. All right? Danny, can you read that?
It says, what happens here is totally unacceptable and a disgusting act of which a resident ends up slicing their fingers.
And you see it on the top end corner. And you can see another picture. He's got something else there.
This was designed to inflict punishment on anyone who attempts to remove the sign.
I mean, how despicable can you get? If you put these on lawns in certain places, you know you weren't supposed to have the signs up there to begin with. And then you set it up where people can literally get hurt. Or that sign gets blown away. And it's running all over the place. Your dog, a dog could be walking along and steps on the sign. A kid could go chase his little ball, his or her ball, and gets hurt. A person on a bike. I mean, it's just so ridiculous that we continue to have this happen, and allow this to play a role in politics, this is to the extreme that we've gone to, and we need to get rid of this nonsense. There's so much ignorance out there. It's beyond race and color. It's beyond, nowadays I could say, I love this Sprite, and I'm not promoting Sprite, everybody, but I love this Sprite, and it's so good because it's so clear. And I could have somebody come in and say, what are you, racist against dark soda? That's how stupid things are getting out here. Okay? Racism does exist, but come on, guys. This nonsense has got to stop. We're going to jump into a commercial. I'm going to take a sip. You guys go get something, and I'll see you in 30 seconds.
Hey parents, kids like us have a problem, and it's one that you can help solve.
But most parents aren't even aware the problem exists.
Here's the issue. Most schools today aren't teaching young kids some really important concepts, like how the economy works, or what our rights are, or the definition of true laws.
Back before you were born, schools often taught the principles of a free society.
But not anymore. That's why our parents have us read
The
Tuttle
Tuttle
Twins. These books teach children about economic and civic truths that we need to learn, and there's nothing else like them in the world.
Each book covers a different topic, helping us learn how the world really works.
For example, these books teach kids things like how the free market is the key to prosperity, the history of the money we use, what our rights are and why we should protect them, how kids can be entrepreneurs.
I definitely want to be my own boss someday, and these books will help.
Kids like us absolutely love these books. Maybe because they don't treat us like little children. Instead, they help us learn important ideas and develop critical thinking skills.
Chances are your kids are missing out on learning these things, especially in a way that's fun and enjoyable for the whole family.
And even better, when you buy this set, you also get the awesome activity workbooks for free.
Now listen, there are a lot of crazy ideas out there, and you need to prepare your kids.
Yeah, if you want to raise a free thinker, you're gonna need something that teaches about freedom.
So purchase your books now.
But be careful, your kids will learn ideas that many adults don't even understand.
It makes for some really interesting dinner conversations. Those kids are cute, but I bet yours are cuter.
And imagine how much they'll enjoy the books. So what are you waiting for? Click the link and grab your set.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Freedom, Not Tyranny. I'm your host, David Torres. Danny is the producer here. We can't make it without him. He is indispensable when it comes to having around. We could do anything we want to do, but we can't mess with Danny. Okay? You ever, there's a song out there where well, I'll play the song for Danny next time because I don't want to spoil it. I'm going to bring the song so it'll be played to know that you don't mess around with Bill. In this case, you don't mess around with Danny. But I'll play that song because that kind of puts me where my age is at. So, let's talk a little bit about the economy and what's happening, and a little bit about our friendly Bimbo Joe out here. Okay, here's where we're at with Joe. He was out after G7 and all that. He came out he was doing some, the few people that want him to go out and actually participate and help them in their campaign, which is very little Democrats that want to have him around. They're kind of ducking him for being around. But Joe went into an ice cream parlor, okay? And Joe was asked a question about the economy and inflation. And we'll get Danny to read out what his response was.
So he said, yes, our economy is strong as hell internally. Inflation is worldwide.
So, Joe, I'm going to give you something in a minute on the economy. But you notice, everybody, that he was eating ice cream. Okay? And yeah, the economy and inflation is worldwide. And Danny, can you put up what's happening after the G7 countries met and the status of where they're at? So I'm going to have Danny read out the status of Japan and stuff like that so you'll get an idea. Go ahead.
All right, so we have Japan at 3%. We have France at almost 6%. Canada at 7%. Then you have the U.S. at 8.2%. Then UK 8.6%. And we have Italy almost at 9%. And then we have Germany at 9.99, 10%.
Okay, so I'm going to give them the fact that, let's give them the fact that the economy, is an issue around everywhere because there's all kinds of things going on. But we need to concentrate on what's happening in the United States, okay? And what's caused us to get to this economy. Remember, when Joe took over, inflation was at 1.5%. Inflation today, in the time that Joe was in there, is at 8 point something percent. What was the number for us?
8.9.
8.9. Okay? So, what got us here? First of all, he promised the Green Party or the Green Movement, not the Green Party, excuse me, Green Party, because it wasn't you. He promised the Green Movement that he was going to cut back on fossil fuel. We were independent on fossil fuels. We were actually selling more, and we produce it at a much safer rate than anywhere in the world. The natural gas and oil. We produce it better than anyone in the world. Anyone. So what does Bimbo, and I got to say it twice, 3 times, Bimbo Biden do? The first thing, he comes in and cancels the pipeline. Today, that pipeline would have produced daily 1 point something million barrels of oil coming in to this country. He canceled it out. Then he runs to the OPEC countries when he realizes that he's using up all our emergency strategical oil to try to cut it back, to lie to the American people, reducing the number of the dollar value at the gas pump to us. So he's using our strategical stuff, which he actually sold a lot of it to China. Okay? This is getting to be a little ridiculous with this guy. Okay? Then he runs to OPEC to get them to produce more oil and increase it. But he tells them, if you're going to lower it down, don't lower it down till after the elections. That's rigging an election. He went to the OPEC, and the OPEC, of course, because nobody's scared of Bimbo Biden, decided the United States is that bad off and Europe is that bad off. Well, if I produce less oil, what I'm producing, I can increase the sale for. So they produce less and they sell it higher. Thank you, Joe. Okay, for putting your foot in your mouth. Again. Don't ask me how he did it. He must have tripped going up steps and realized that his foot was there and bit his own foot because he screwed us over. He went to OPEC. Now he's going to Venezuela to ask them. Venezuela is the worst country when it comes to environmentally doing and producing oil safely. All right? He's going to Venezuela to make a deal with Venezuela. Okay? It is the worst decisions he's making. This man is a super idiot. He was stupid when he was senator. He was racist when he was senator. And he still is. He's made all kinds of promises. Our military's weak. He's used up our reserves. He's going out to other countries, and he still refuses like a spoiled brat. It's my ball, and if I don't play because I got eliminated, nobody can play because I'm going home and taking my ball. That's what we got for a president. All right? A whining twerp is what we got for a president. Somebody who doesn't get that you got to stop lying and bullshitting, and telling us that you got arrested with Mandela and you were a truck driver and you drove 18-wheelers and you got raised by Hispanics and you grew up with the Hispanic community, and if you're not black, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Well, I don't know where he got that from because he's not black. He must have been having a lot of lunch with Elizabeth Warren. But the economy is disgusting. And let me explain to you. He doesn't get it, okay? Maybe his neighbor could come in and tell him, the same one that told him that hamburger cost was going up, could come in and explain to him that ice cream he's eating, because the way we got to move products around and the cost of everything that's going up because of him here in this country. Ice cream is made up of what? Milk. I think eggs, sugar, etc. Fruits, right? There's ice cream. Cherry flavored ice cream, etc. So if you had an ice cream shop, milk is up higher. Eggs has gone up higher. Okay. The flour to make the cones is up higher. The sugar to make everything is up higher. The rental of the place is high. The taxes that you got to pay for the business. You got to pay salaries of employees, which with businesses closing down. Families can't afford to take their kid to get them a nice ice cream anymore because Bimbo Biden has turned his economy inside out to hell, spending money. Okay? So, of course, he does this big scene showing him eating an ice cream. You know the son of a bitch ain't paying for shit. Even if he's at the cash register handling the money, he probably got it from one of the Secret Service agents. The guy's an ass. Let's move on. Okay, so we're going to show you the economy, and here you go. Statistically speaking, there's polling going on, and it says where his approval rate and what people think about his performance. And you look at the economy, 35% approval rate. That 35% must have been the Democrats that work in Congress. Must be the Democratic Congress, because there's Congress people that's going against him. Because I can't believe for nothing in the world that 35% of the Democrats in this country believe them.
It's a crazy number.
Okay, 62% disapprove, because there's no way when you're paying more for everything you approve what this idiot's doing.
Well, everybody's starting to feel it.
On the inflation, his approval rate is 29%. You know it's wrong. You know it's rigged. Okay, and 67% disapproved of what he's doing. So that's where we're at with this stuff. The guy is he's a wreck. But it's what everybody wanted in office. We already know that stuff was rigged. We know how they interfered and they tried to, and they did make it seem like Trump was the beast of coming out of the water and is about to devour the planet. But yep, it's what you wanted. It's what you got. A white, racist, filthy individual in office.
But I'm glad this is happening.
I'm glad.
I'm glad because the truth is coming out.
Yeah.
And people need to realize, how dirty the politicians are.
Yeah,
On
how
both
dirty,
sides.
how much they cover up. Look what they're still doing with his son. But let's move on to what Joe has been doing, if anybody didn't catch it. Okay? Now Joe is not only screwing up the economy, the inflation, etc. He's going around giving dating advice. Okay? Here's pervert Joe giving dating advice to a biker's girl. Now, look at the way these guys are looking at Joe. Okay? He's smelling, whispering, and squeezing this girl from behind. I mean, how in the world do you do stuff like this? Somebody has to tell him he's dead wrong. You don't do these things. And it gets worse. He did it here, but it gets worse. He's actually caught again with a little young girl. If we have the picture here. Now, there's a video that gets attached to this, because you remember how he said that he grew up with the Spanish community. He just recently did it. Mm-hmm. He grew up with the Spanish community and the Spanish. What I gotta tell you, dude, this is actual proof that he didn't. He goes behind this young girl. We don't have the audio part of it. We're gonna try to get it for you for next week. But he literally touches this girl from behind, is smelling her hair. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know what the sick habit of his is to be touching, feeling, and
That's
smelling
not the first
a
time
woman's
he's done
hair.
that to a little girl.
And she's a young little girl. She could look like she's about 9, 10 years old, maybe a little tops. She's 13, right? And he goes behind her and whispers in her ear, "Don't do any serious dating or something like that till you're 30. Have fun." That's a hell of a thing to influence or say to a child. And who are you? And let me tell you something. If you really grew up with Hispanics, last thing you want to do is tell a Hispanic woman and go behind her daughter and squeeze her shoulder, smell her hair, and whisper in her ear something like that. Because that Hispanic mother would have boxed the living shit out of him. Knocked him on his ass because he can't stand up and walk straight. Mm-mm. Knocked his perverted ass down, picked up the phone, and said, "Papi, you know what that pervert president did to our daughter?" And there would be no single bodyguard that he can have that would have stopped a bunch of Hispanic men from putting their foot right up his ass. So yes, this concludes that he definitely did not grow up with the Spanish community, because we don't deal with perverts. Period. And I think for today, gentlemen, and everybody, we're going to call it I want to tell you to please take it serious. The next couple episodes that are coming up are going to be serious episodes for us, and we're going to try to bring you as much information on what's happening in the world and what's happening in the world of politics. You Hispanics that are out there, you're the number one ticket. Stop paying attention to what parties are telling you and start gathering, have lunches, have dinners, sit down in groups, and talk about what's happening. Because you have control. Stop letting every other race take control of you. God bless you. I love you. I'll see you next week. Hello and welcome everyone to Freedom, Not Tyranny. I'm your host, David Torres. This is a show about you, about your rights, your freedom. A different show. A show about big government versus little government. A show about your Second Amendment rights. A show about your freedom, your rights to vote. A show that involves how to keep yourself independent. Your rights to do what you feel is necessary for you and your family. This is what this show is all about. I hope you enjoy it. Freedom, not tyranny.